Today we'll look at some basic information to help you in Excel. So let's begin by opening up Excel. Go down here and either type Excel or open up the Excel program. It'll open up like this. Now, this here are some good ideas to look into. These are just kind of tutorial files of simple stuff. Let's go to open up the blank workbook. And you can see a standard view here. This is the default ribbon. It's very similar to the Word ribbon, how it's laid out. It's got its own unique things, of course, because it's Excel. Each one of these little rectangles is a cell, and this whole thing is a worksheet, and this whole file is a workbook. So this workbook can have several sheets down here. We can add more and more down here and have more pieces of information there. Notice that each one of these cells here, as I click around, has a name. This one's A3 because it's on row 3, column A. And we can see that because it even shows it up here. So as I move around here, you can see this, that the cells have their own unique name. Now cells can have 3 different types of entry. Either text, which could be letters, symbols, spaces, values, which are numbers basically. It could be any quantity, an amount or a date or a time, and formulas, which is a combination of numbers, cells, and so forth with operators and functions. And formulas always begin with an equal sign. So let's go ahead and try this out on our spreadsheet here. And what we want to do, we might want to zoom up a little bit. So I'm going to hit this little plus sign here. And I'm going to zoom up. So now our cells are a little bit bigger. We can see this a little clearer. But here in cell A1, let's type in a word like name. And then in A2, the number 1, and then the number 2. And so you can see that by default, text will be left justified, and the numbers would be right justified. Now we can change that like we do in Word and change the color and the font and so forth the same way. So for 4, let's say in cell A4, we want to add these two together. Now, you don't want to type a number here. For example, if I type in 3, well, that is surely the case for this. That's surely the case for this operation, and we're adding them together. That's great. But what if I change the number? What if this is supposed to be 4? Now I got to go back and remember to change this 3. Let's undo this a second. Let's go back to where it was before. Instead of that, you'd want to add using a formula. Again, formulas start with equal sign. So I'm clicking here, start with equal. And I'm not going to do 1 plus 2, because again, that would still not change. I'd click on this cell right here. And now notice it shows A2. So as soon as I typed in the equal sign, it wants me to pick a cell. If I pick the wrong one, I can pick somewhere else now, and it would change. See how this is all changing? But I do want A2. Then I'm going to hit the plus sign. And the plus sign is on the number pad. It's also next to the backspace key if you shift up. But now it's ready for the next cell, right? And so that's going to be this one here. Once I have them correct, and notice that they're color-coded to the cells to give us a visual clue we've got the right ones, then I press Enter. And look at that. It added up automatically. Now, let's say I change this now to a 4. Notice what happened. It updated automatically. And that's the value of using formulas. Let's go ahead and say that we're going to do this, and we want to copy these across all these few cells here. I selected the cells by clicking and dragging. I selected these, and I can go to here and select copy. And I can go over here, right click and paste, or use the paste button, and they paste in the numbers. Or what I can do is select, and then there's a little box down here. It's hard to see, but it's a little box. If I click and drag it across, notice when I hovered over it, my cursor became a plus, and let go, it copies automatically. Here's a beautiful thing too. This formula, if I click here and drag it across, it copies as well. But this formula now, instead of being these two numbers, look what it did. By double clicking on this cell, we can see the formula again, and we can see that so the first cell is in column A, it's now column B. The formula updated itself to the numbers just above it. So now I can change this cell to be back to 1, and this automatically updates as well. Now, we can use simple equations like this to do our math, but it's better if you can to use a function. A function is this little fx here, and there are some functions over here that are very common. Adding things together, the average, the count number, the maximum, the min, and so forth. You can have more functions. We're not going to get too much into the detail of the functions, but the sum function is a very good one. So let's go ahead and delete this. Hit the delete key on the keyboard. And now I'm going to click on this auto sum because it's already set up for it. If I click, notice the difference in the way it's written. The sum equals sum. So equals is it's a formula. Sum, beginning parentheses, C2 is the first colon, C3 is the last. Press enter. So it gives us 3, just like this would over here. If I changed it back to 1, it gives us 3. Let's say we need to add a row between these two. And click here, right click and insert. Or I can also do here, insert, and it tells me insert a cell or a row or whatever. You can do it this way. I like just selecting this area here and hit insert. And now we've got a new piece of information. Let's say we need to have 3 things, not 2 things added up. And so I'm going to add now the 4 here. And I think you can see right away what happened. This did not change. Why not? Well, if I take a look at the formula, it basically is whatever's in cell A2 plus whatever is now in cell A4. Once I added a row in here, A3 became A4. But notice the difference here. Add everything from the first cell to the last cell. And once I added a row in here, it became C4. That's kind of the value of the sum function when you can. Some other functions, go here, delete this. I can do here, let's say the average. Let's say I want the average of the functions. Click here. See, equals average. That's the particular one. So sum was sum, average is this average. This is a word that the computer knows from the first to the last of this grouping. Press enter. And you can see the average of these numbers together is this. Now you can see it's repeating 3, so I can also reduce or expand the number of decimals over here. So I can expand or reduce the number of decimals. For example, in this one, let's add a decimal. So let's say I wanted this wording to go all the way across. I can select the whole area all the way across, and here is the merge. And I can merge across or vertical, how I would like. So I click merge in center, and now those cells are all together. When you click on that, it says the word name, and I can now go left, justify, or whatever if I need to here. So let's take a break from this example and take a look at the symbols used in formulas. So for formulas, we use the order of operation. The same order of operations used in math problems is used in Excel. And basically the parentheses in math would be parentheses in Excel. Powers are with this caret. So if you have square or square root or something like that, that would be the caret. And then we have multiply and divide. Now multiply is this asterisk and divides a slash. Now the asterisk is on the number pad right here. So all your operands are right here on the number pad, and the slash is divide. So if you forget what to use, that's there, and plus and minus as well on the number pad. Now when using numbers, adding and so forth, you can't type in like 1 foot. You can see right away when I type in 1 foot, it got a value down here. So we can't, how can you add 1 foot to 4 or 2 or whatever? So it doesn't understand that. So let's undo that a second. And so, but there's different ways of solving this, and that's using these kind of symbols here that we can use. Accounting symbols, we've got different kinds of numbers that you can use. You can just use regular numbers. What I tend to do is if it's supposed to be feet, I type in here feet as a heading, so I know this is feet. If I meant it to be, inches, things like that. So that's one way of solving this problem. Another way is using these different categories. Like if I wanted this to be dollar signs, I would hit this button right here, and there's dollar signs right there. What's interesting though is if it's $0, it'll show a dash. So just kind of be aware of that for this particular function. Some of these other ones, yen and pounds and so forth, will deal differently. If I want it to be percent sign, just click on percent here. And this is true. The percents are is 400%. So 4 is 400%. Because 1 is 100%. 0.5 is half a percent, 50%. So, and things like that. And you can always undo. You can even select here and select all different kinds of custom formatting. Again, you don't need to do this. Most of the time, just having this right here is all you need. You know, maybe you just call this square feet if necessary. Yeah, that's what it is. Let's look at one more thing. So here we added plus. Let's say we are going to multiply. All right, and we can go ahead and get rid of this center row. So we go here and get rid of that, delete. We go here and type in the equal sign, right? That starts the process that it knows that we want equals. Click here, B3, yep, times, and I'm using the number pad for this asterisk. You can also use it above the number 8. And then we'll click here, because once I hit the times, it's looking for the next number here. Press enter. And so sure, 4 times 2 is 8. If I right click, insert here, and type in 2, again, it's not going to do that because it splits it, right? If we want them all to be multiplied together, we'll use the times symbol and then the other cell. And then you'd have the multiplication there. And then the formatting, formatting of the cells is this one. The formatting of the numbers and so forth is, here. You can pick. It's just like you would in Word, and make it look how you want it to look like. One last thing: if the column gets too short or too narrow, let's say this is narrow like this, really tight. Notice what happens to the numbers. They become pound signs. Now that's not the same as value. Right? Value means that it can't do the multiplication or addition. It says it doesn't fit. And one way I always like to do it is if I click up here, notice how the cursor becomes a double-sided arrow. If I double click, it'll make it as wide as it needs to be, but no wider. So let's kind of go look at this. If I select here, and I'm clicking up at this top portion, double click, and now each one of these cells is as wide as it needs to be to show the cell properly and no wider. If you wanted to have a grid line around here, this is where you would do it, just like you would in Word and in tables. It'll make it look like you want it to be. And then of course from printing it's the same way: file, print, and then you would have to say how it's going to be. And that's how it would print out on a page. You can go then to the page layout and do different things like margins and so forth, and headers and footers and things like that. One last thing that I find useful is the freeze panes command. Well, here's an example of a file, a little more complicated than you'll probably ever have to work on. But sometimes you might get files that are kind of large, and you have some words here that you want to see, and here as well, to keep kind of things in line. And if you scroll down using the scroll wheel, all of a sudden the headings are gone. And so we don't have any headings. I mean, I guess we could kind of imagine them. Or if you go down here and scroll sideways, also on this side's gone too. So a way to solve that, and again, you probably won't have this often, but when you do, it's good to know this. Go to the cell just underneath and just to the right of what you want to be always visible. So I always want this to be always visible, and I want this to be always visible as we scroll up or down and across. And put your cursor there. Then go up here to View. That's a View ribbon. And over here for Freeze Panes, I usually just click it and select Freeze Panes. You could freeze just the top row or the left, but I'm going to keep both Freeze Panes. And again, that's as many rows down and over too, by the way. It doesn't have to be one row down and one column over, something like that. So now look what happens when I scroll down. And now look what happens when I go across. So if I want to see the entire labor information for this particular element of work, it's right here. And that's very helpful. If perhaps you click the wrong spot or you want to get rid of it, just go back to that cell and go to Freeze Panes and Unfreeze Panes, and now it works like it was before. Hopefully these little tips on using Excel will be helpful.